Hello and welcome back to the One Arm No Legs podcast. I'm here by myself. Ryan sadly lost his legs on the way here, so it's just me for today. But today we have two special guests. We have Michaela and we have Erin.
Hello.
Hi.
Let's just get this. Let's get this started.
Yeah.
This is a question to both of you. How did you get into the industry?
Well, for me, I didn't really get into the industry. I kind of fell into it about 7 months ago. There was an option that came up talking about a potential apprenticeship program, and I thought I would just have a go, see what it was like. And now that I'm in it, I don't want to get out of it. So.
How about yourself, Erin?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of different because I was at a point where I was going through my scoliosis surgery whenever I was going, through college and everything. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I sat at the kitchen table with my aunt and we got out all the courses just to try to find out what I wanted to do. And then creative media level 3 popped up. And then that's how I started. I repeated my A-levels, and then from my A-levels, I did a HND, and now I'm on my final year of my degree.
What was your degree on, let's say, what was it, practical side of it, or what did you do there?
Yeah, the HND was pure film, and then I did in Queen's broadcast production. So I'm on my final year, and we did documentary this year. That's
amazing. Mm-hmm. And before the cameras rolled, we chatted about this, and was it your documentary about your disability, right?
Yes.
Would you mind if we
I'm happy
discuss that?
Yeah. I was born with a genetic condition called 22q. I don't know if anybody has heard of it. Whenever I was in pre-production and trying to come up with the concept, nobody really heard of it. I remember talking to you, Michaela.
Yeah. When we met at the Belfast Media Festival, I think you were quite shocked that I knew what it was.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. I knew it's an incredibly rare thing, and because it's a deletion, it was obviously, I told you, I learned a little bit about it on my master's, but was fascinated to actually meet somebody with the condition.
There's only 80 cases in Northern Ireland.
80 cases?
80. It's very, very rare. And
so whenever you meet up with someone that actually has one, hello!
We're like that kind of way. And they do a monthly clinic at the hospital, in the city hospital. And it's called the 22Q Clinic. And they all meet every month, at the end of Friday. And that's how I was able to get in contact with people and have them come on the documentary. So it wasn't just my story that I was able to tell. I was able to showcase other characters in my documentary too.
Oh, amazing! And how would you, Michaela? And we chatted about going through CINE, like me. I went through.
Yes.
I went through CINE.
Yeah. So I think we're both on a very similar program. In that, for me, I have 18 months seconded to the BBC, so I work predominantly within their commercial rights and business affairs department. But we have smaller sections within that because the BBC actually is probably one of the largest law firms in the UK. The team that we have is so vast, but people don't really think of it for that. So mine was a little bit of a different take on things. I decided to do the program, thought it would introduce me to something, needed something new to do. I was getting a bit bored of selling houses or helping rich people to sell their houses. So I decided to take a bit of a loop, and when the opportunity for CINE came up, I kind of looked and saw that last part where they were talking about the fact that this could be an ideal, role for somebody within the legal sector. So it kind of felt like a bit of a no-brainer, apart from the pay, but other than that, sometimes you have to go down before you go up.
Be honest though, it was about the payment, it was about money, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you work in the law sector and you have to take a dip. No, I'm not shading in ice cream. Love yous, by the way. Not shading there.
A little shout out.
Absolutely love them. Yeah, no, I mean, for me, the whole point of CINE, it's the creative industries new entrant scheme. I know we all shorten it, so a lot of people don't ever know what we're talking about when we say we're on the CINE scheme, but it really is truly for people that have had no experience. And I guess the difference for you would be, you know, you've went through the courses, so you got to meet different people in the industry. Whereas for me, ordinarily, if I went day to day in a law firm, I'm not going to meet a producer, I'm not going to meet a director, I'm not going to, unless it's the director of legal, but I'm going to meet nobody else. So it really was like here is a jump start. At least that was what it was for me. I don't know if it was a bit different for you because you had done some bits.
I did well with me with my uni course, my lecture. So we had like I think it was like a wee like watch these short movies day, you know, that way, like everyone, like all the media people went to OMA actually, all the media ones that were in OMA, like OMA Tech or Southwest College, and were at this like short movie event type of thing. And then one of the girls went through CINE, and then that's when my lecturer was just like, actually, the CINE does this. I mean, they're looking for people with disabilities and low income.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part, is the fact that like some of the roles are ring fenced for people with disability. Yeah. Although I like to think I got there without that.
Of course. Me, it's just blatant.
No, but it is nice to know. Like for me, I'll be honest, like it was hard to stay in employment sometimes because the adaptations that are sometimes needed if I'm really unwell, like there's a lot of big firms out there that just are not willing to accommodate that, or you know, even have an accessible building. You know, something like that can be really difficult. So the fact that CINE were ring fencing these posts gave me sort of a way to get in there, especially with somewhere like the BBC. Like I'm sure for your placement's been like quite accommodating, and the BBC have been absolutely incredible at making sure that, you know, I'm covered in whatever way I need. So it's been really good that there's those positions specifically for people that need them.
100%. And with you, Erin, like after like your uni course, what are your plans then, do you think? Or do you still want to do, like, do you want to still be into the creative industry?
I think I would like to very much use my degree. Definitely. But it's very hard to find, and I'm even struggling as a final year student to find permanent work because the industry is very fickle. Especially if you want to get into production side, and there's not like most productions are already fully crewed.
That's fair. That is 100%.
Yeah, and I think uni doesn't really do a good job of telling us that. So it's more us finding our own independence and meeting the right people and using our own initiative and our own drive and finding that passion.
Of course. Oh no, because I think with CINE, I think I just got really lucky, you know, that way. It was just massive luck, you know, that way. But if I didn't know what CINE was, I'd be still.
That's why I sort of do say, you know, I fell in. It wasn't something that I thought of, and I got incredibly lucky. But at the same time, with the exact same thing that you're going through, it is an 18-month program. You know, we do not have a permanent job guarantee.
Oh no, because
that is the scary element of it, you know.
Oh no, because I actually remember asking someone's like, "What to do afterwards?" I mean, I love this. I am loving it, but what the hell do I do afterwards?
No, and it is scary. And when you look at big organizations, so like I was chatting with my manager at the BBC today, and we were saying about, I think it's roughly 78% of contracts at the BBC are freelance.
Really?
Yeah.
That much?
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Holy shit.
Most of the industry actually runs off of freelance workers.
Yeah.
You know, when you do have sets and like you've experienced, you know, the people that stay on these sets, you know, they've worked together countless times, and actually getting your foot into a set, I think is probably incredibly difficult.
It is.
And I think you have to sort of maybe just bite your tongue a little bit and do the freelance or do like the dailies and do stuff like that.
That's why I was telling Michaela over the week, a couple of days ago, the show that I worked on got released on BBC iPlayer.
Oh, the kind of spark, right? Yes, I remember you telling me.
And I was working with a really great team of people, and everybody was just really understanding, because that show is about autism.
Yeah.
And it's really great to work with an understanding team of crew and cast, because it was authentic casting and it was great atmosphere overall. But I sadly didn't get credited, and I didn't know that at the time, but I like sent all the forms that we had to do, like for team engines and like, which I didn't know that was a side.
Yeah.
Like uni didn't tell us that either.
No,
It's
no.
like a complete like for payment for everything. But I got paid. I got the experience, and I would take that any day over the credit. And then I was able to speak to my lecturer, and he was saying you can maybe speak to production and see if they can put it on your IMDb or ask for a reference, and they were mostly happy enough to do that as well.
Amazing,
As
yeah.
well,
Oh,
like,
no.
within this industry, it's hard to know your worth.
Yeah.
It's and uni doesn't teach us likes of day rates or how much we should earn, or
Exactly.
it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, I think like credits are obviously really important, especially when you are working in the type of job. Like if you're working in sound, you want to point and be able to show exactly, you know, all the things that you've worked on, and ideally that is something that you can do, but sometimes it doesn't work out. Like in your instance, you know, you weren't given a credit for that, but it's still, there is still ways that you can use that experience. And sometimes you just have to getting your name out there is most important.
Because in my head I'm thinking you might have not got the credit, but you might have got like some of the people's like numbers, and they'd be like, I remember I did that work for you. Could you please give me another bit of it?
Like I would take the experience over a credit any day, because it's even hard just to get your feet onto a set.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was on a set for a week for cover, like that was for my first ever production outside of uni commitments. That was a dream.
Plus you see like credits rolling at the end of movies, and there's hundreds of names.
Oh no, there's like thousands.
And you're sort of looking at it and you're going, wow, there were so many people. But that doesn't encompass everybody that was there. You know, it just so happens that these guys were, because you can have somebody who maybe only has work cover for a day, but actually what they do in that day might have made that filming so much easier.
Exactly,
But because they're not there long enough
for the 3 months or the 4 months or however long you,
then they don't receive the credit. To me it's kind of like I don't know if either he is like football.
I can dabble. No, I dabble.
But it kind of reminds me of like years ago, whenever Chelsea won a tournament, and do you know what I'm going to say?
And Chelsea.
So basically, like John Terry, he wasn't playing, and
did he get the credit? Did he get the?
He ran onto the pitch at the end. Like he put his kit on underneath his clothes. He wasn't playing. He wasn't even on the bench, but he ran on at the end of it so that he could get his pictures taken in the kit with the medal, because he did play the other matches. So like the way it works in like Champions League, you know, when you're doing that, there you have to play so many minutes before you can get a medal. So for him, he had played them, but then he got injured, you know, typical football. Got injured,
I know.
couldn't do it, and then the next thing, he ran onto the pitch. He had a suit on, and then he had his kit underneath.
Brilliant.
So I mean, you have to respect the gusto of it all, but
course.
It's kind of like that, you know. You can't just show up at the end, I suppose, and get a credit, but getting your name out there and talking to as many people, because
like,
at the BBC,
like American producers, like I was working with English directors, like I've been working with overseas individuals, and it was just really nice to make those connections in itself. And everybody, like even at the rap party, I was invited to the rap party. Like it was
amazing.
that
like that was like a nice invite that they didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? So.
I like it.
But I did tell myself that this year I wanted to try and make more meaningful relationships with people.
Yes.
Because then it's just something about meeting ones, because I realised on my 26th birthday last year, I have no friends apart from my now husband. That's really sad. And I was like, you know, I'm happy in my own company, but at the same time, I'm like, sure, am I that bad? Nobody wants to be around me. And I spent myself like years convincing myself of that. So I shut everybody off that I had around me. And now I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and be an adult. I'm going to try and make friends. It's scary, But just talking to you and doing that now, you know, me and you we've chatted loads now, and
I've been
then
annoying you.
no, definitely
Same
not.
with you, and I've been
No.
like, can we have a chat?
No, and the thing is, even just, you know, you had a good chat with my husband,
Oh, yeah.
and
It was
you
great.
know, we've been talking now for months, and
Yeah.
it's like trying to get to know people. But the more that you know people, then the more that they know somebody, and they'll point you in a direction.
And I always like say, everyone wants to chat. I would
Yeah,
chat like
yeah.
with like the people are trying to like get out there,
Yeah.
like trying to like networking and stuff.
Yeah.
Talk. And do you guys think that there is like you know, like with uni and stuff, do you think there's like enough opportunities for people with disabilities? You know, I think we've chatted about this before,
No,
like in the BBC event, but
I
do
think
you guys think that there is, or do you think that we need more?
I think unis, I think for my case anyway, because I am a bit older than the people in my class,
Yeah.
I think it all just depends on your own passion and what you want to do.
That's right.
And unis don't really tell you that much that goes on.
No.
So it's mainly your own independence in my case anyway. And I'll give you an example. Michaela very kindly stepped in for our RTS event
Yeah.
last week.
Yes.
And
Queen's one, right?
Queen's, yeah, it was held on my campus in Sark, and not one person from my class came to that event.
Really? Mm-hmm. None?
No. And it was a free event.
Yeah.
It was a great opportunity to meet
yeah.
people. They wanted to talk to students. Not one person from my class came, and I don't think either of the second years either, but they did have their TV show assignment that they were working on.
Yes, okay,
So,
okay. So they had a good excuse.
But not one person from and my lecturer, Frank Delaney. I don't know if you guys know of Frank Delaney.
Just
from
by
you.
name,
Yeah.
yeah, just by name.
He made me go up and speak to the class and let them know about it. And then he went away to America last week, came back this week, and he was telling me, oh, how did it all go? I heard it went really well. He sold loads of tickets. We sold 93 tickets, which was great
Oh, yeah.
for our first
great.
event. And then we're already looking at the next one, the Production Unlocked,
Yeah.
which is coming up very soon. And basically, I told him not one person came to the class, and
Did he run through them?
I find that very disappointing because
Yeah.
like you organize events and you want people to show, but if it's people like your peers that you do see in class every day
Yeah.
and then they don't come, well, it's all on them for one if they
Yeah.
don't come. But at the end of the day, they're missing out on an opportunity.
I think especially when you're at university,
Yeah.
you know, like these events are sort of set up as a way to network.
Yeah.
And actually what was good about that event, like obviously I stepped in kind of late to it to try
Thank you very much for that.
to try and show another aspect of it,
Yeah.
you know, because I mean everybody else that sat beside me that night had worked in this industry for years. So to get a viewpoint of somebody that has just started,
Yeah.
I think was good for some of them. But for people not to show up as well, like to me, I don't know how far you're gonna get in the industry if you're not showing up.
Because if you're not in it, you can't win.
No, and there's so many people that you don't get the opportunity to meet
Exactly. Yeah.
if you don't come to these things. Now, that's not me telling you and all of your friends, you must come to
better do
that. You know,
You better.
you're not going to do that for everything,
Yeah.
but there is an importance about going to these things, showing up for the people in your classes, because 10 years down the line, you know, say you're working on something, they might really want you for their project, but you're going, you didn't show up for me, I'm not going to show up for you.
True.
Yeah.
So
Oh, no.
there's-
I think that's a bad thing. I think I have that
People-
sort of mindset
What
too.
I've
Like,
learned, especially, people remember you in this industry.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you have to show a really good first impression off the bat.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, for me, I'm not a good example. I nearly got kicked out of law school after my first year
Great.
for having 9% attendance.
Ooh,
Yes.
9%.
9.
I mean, you could have just went up to 10. That would be double figured. But
But it was also in that year that I had started to actually academically excel. So even though I was there for that 9%,
It still counts.
I still showed up. I could have just not turned up at all. So, get over yourself. I got the degree. So they had every right to kick me out. No, they didn't, because they saw my exam results. So,
and they
helped drag their percentage up a little bit. So it was all good. But But in that time, that was when I was diagnosed with autism, and that was sort of like a really hard thing to get to grips with, because I was trying to work out. I'd been out of school for a few years, and I was trying to work out, can I go to uni? Are they going to understand? Because I didn't know what I needed to understand about myself. And I wasn't a big, I wasn't great in school. I got by. I was always good when they left me alone, and once you get to uni, they really do leave you alone. So that element of it, it was really good in that, they actually, I was like, great, yous aren't here. And then the next thing, my grades started to climb, and I was going, this is brilliant, and I don't even have to go to school. Found out the next year I did have to go to school. There was going to be a minimum attendance, and if I didn't get it,
you didn't get it, you'd be kicked out.
That 10% counts.
That 10%. It sounded like 9, it was 10, and then you got in.
So it was good in the end. There was more of a push. I had to go, and I had to do it, and actually throughout that time, trying to understand sort of, obviously with my condition, and then understanding the other side, because I had other disabilities that were running along with that, and having to balance all of that and then make it into school. That was really difficult, but my lecturers were very supportive.
Of course,
I think if you're open with people, generally they are. If they're not, then they're just pricks. And I don't think that there's another. Wait, are you allowed to say?
Oh, don't worry.
Pricks. But that's the way that they work. And I think that if you surround yourself with people like that, then you're probably not gonna. It's a wee bit different in uni. I'm not going to tell you that if you're in your first week of uni, that you then have the right to turn around to your most senior lecturer and be like, no, I want to go to Starbucks, and you're not going to, I'm not saying don't take the absolute piss out of it. Don't do that. But at some point, you have to look at the people you have around you, and if they're not the right people and they're not supportive, but also you have to be honest about your limitations.
Of course.
Because I wasn't.
That's what I struggled with in second year, especially, because whatever way second year happened, it was just not. And because I'm in the industry, which I'm very grateful for, I'm seeing it real firsthand. Where I'm now in a uni class, and it's they don't even have the facilities in Queen's the way Belfast Met would have. It's completely different, and because I've seen both. I've seen Belfast Met and I've seen Queen's. I'm glad I did them, but if I didn't go into Belfast Met first, I would have been walking into Queen's blind. And that's, Queen's are more theory focused, which I do get, and theory is important, and I do see it on sets every single time I'm on a set. It's just they don't accommodate practical more. We had a focus group the other week in class, and there's people in my class that still don't know how to turn on a camera.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're amazing at the theory, but crap at the practical side? Okay.
So, if there's a big button, I could press it. That's kind of the height of my skills.
That's really press the big red button.
The big red button.
Big red button. And it was just interesting to see that, because yes, I take every opportunity that I get, and I'm looking at my uni class and I'm seeing the dynamic, and second year was a really bruising experience for me. Because it was practical in a sense, but Queen's didn't have the same facilities that Belfast Met would have had, and their students get marked on their assignments whenever they do the Jerry Kelly show. And it would be great if Queen's can implement that somehow into the module, but it's just, that's one of the reasons why I went solo on my documentary. And my lecturer had to fight for me to go solo, because it hasn't been done in the BA yet, where you go solo, but you can do it in the masters. You can go solo or group work in the masters.
You have a choice, right?
You have a choice in the masters, but you don't in the BA.
Okay.
So
Lovely.
I found that out. Yeah.
Oh no, because I was about to ask both of you, like you were chatting about like balance and everything. Is it
Yeah.
hard? Like, is it hard to is it hard to balance like your disability and workload? Or with me, it's a bit. I'll do the work, but I need like a good rest afterwards. You know that
Yeah.
like after the day.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely sort of sympathize with trying to find the balance. When I've worked at other places, I run myself into the ground. Like it 12-hour days are nothing. And when you get into a 9 to 5 job where they actually told me you can leave the office at 5 o'clock, I was like, are you for real?
Amazing.
Like, this is incredible. Like, yeah, I was like, you don't expect me to sit here to 10 o'clock? I was like, great.
But no one knew you would.
Well, I would anyway. Yeah, I love to work because my mind travels quicker than my body.
Yeah.
So I'm very much I want to constantly be doing things, and it's good because that's my work ethic, and I can't change that, and it's a very valuable part that I have. But it's also probably one of my biggest downfalls because I do too much. I overcommit and I stretch myself far too thin, and it is something that I'm having to work on now. But then it doesn't help when you're in an industry like the media industry, where everybody is needing to do that too. And like my boss, like whenever we were at a meeting the other day, and everybody that I spoke to and that talked about her said she was the busiest woman in Northern Ireland, and she is. And I said I would honestly stretch that over to the nations as well, because it's so much which she tries to fit in. But again, it's doing it because you have a heart for your work.
Of course,
and I think when you do have that, like, you don't notice the time. So for me, like, the passion kind of overrides the tiredness of it all. But it is finding that balance. Like for me, I have a neurological condition, so sometimes I have issues with my legs. So the other day, it was the first time that like my bosses have ever had to see me in on crutches, and that was like really difficult for them. Like it was, and I was like, I think it's difficult for you. Like, I'm the one shaking about here, but fair enough. But it was one of those times where they could see my disability.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
I see
like,
what you mean.
And that's not. It is very much hidden until it comes out.
Until
you know?
oh yeah.
So it was difficult. You know, it's different. You know, you fire about with your cane and you're due to go.
I was about to say, unlike me, that you can definitely see what's wrong
I
with me.
mean, you've got a big yellow stick to tell people.
That was our first phone call. You were like, you'll not miss me.
Yeah, that was our first phone call. I was like, look, I have like a yellow cane. It's really hard to miss.
and like, and having that sometimes is just, it's almost, I'm not saying to you here because I'm not saying I want your condition, like, but I'm just saying it's.
I mean, it is a wee bit easier, I think. Well, you don't have to.
There's more explanation sometimes with mine, like why I'm okay one day and I'm not the next.
Yeah.
You know, and that can be quite difficult to navigate. But finding the balance of hybrid working has been a really big thing for me. Not really missing a whole lot of work anymore because I can balance between them.
Yeah.
It's difficult with my job if there's travel. You know, if we have to go over, our offices are in Manchester and in London. We also have in Wales and Scotland, everything. Like, but when we have to travel back and forth, sometimes that can be tiring. But yesterday, obviously I missed a phone call from yourself because a half an hour
because of that meeting,
turned into a 2.5 hour meeting.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And we were all completely drained.
That's whenever I felt really bad whenever I thought, I'm so sorry for calling you again. I just wanted to make sure we were right.
It was one of those things where, like, it didn't matter if you had a disability or not. You wanted to go and lie down after it because your head was spinning, and that it's finding those balances of, okay, I can go and take a rest, but I can go and take a rest and not feel guilty for it.
Yes.
And knowing when it's okay to turn your computer off.
Oh, I mean, those are like the best ways, I think. Like, whenever you just flip off the computer.
But when you do it and you don't have guilt.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I have always suffered with academic guilt.
Me too.
Yeah, it's something that has followed me all the time, because even though you turn your computer off or you put your files away, you're still thinking about what you have, and that is so harmful. Like,
Very
I don't think
draining.
you realize how harmful it is. It does start to eat away at you. So then even when you have switched off, you're not switched off. So
And you just feel like it's never ending.
Yeah.
Like it's a constant, like, especially balancing assignments.
Those don't know I hate it.
Balancing assignments, like on a kind of spark, because one of the good things that I picked broadcast production was you can either do a dissertation or a work placement for 100 hours. And that was one of the main things why, because it was my 7th year in education and I think I deserve not to write a dissertation. So but on the work placement module, they are really adamant that you can't miss class.
Yeah.
But in a working week in production, you're in like 14 hours a day. You know, like it's a full week, Monday to Friday. And I wasn't going to miss that opportunity. Because I've always been good at my attendance, like they were able to then let me have the week in production. And I think especially having assignments on top of that, because I remember I had a deadline in the week of that production. But luckily I was able to go back and bring my laptop on set and then submit it while I was on set. Because I was only a trainee at that point, and then there was other trainees, and then I was sitting with Chris, the sound mixer, and he was able to let me submit my work sitting beside him, so I was still able to see what he was doing, and then I was able to get my work in on time too.
That's good, because your uni had that trust in you because of your attendance. My uni would not have had that trust in me because of my attendance, so it wouldn't have been something that worked out. But it's trying to show up consistently has always been my big issue. But I'm very proud that from I've had this role with CINE, I've had very few days off.
That's fair. No.
Every now and again, there's everybody has an emergency or something that you can't get rid of those things.
You have an appointment, you can't really reschedule the appointment.
These days, anyway.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Like there was a couple of appointments that I had whenever I got my CINE job, and I was like, look, I actually cannot miss them because I've waited
so long.
14 months for them. Like if I say no, they're going to be like, bottom of the waiting list.
See you in another 2 years.
So it's like trying to find that balance. But I think the main way to actually balance is to let people know what you can and you can't do.
I remember Ryan and I, like in the first episode, we discussed like we have to be practical of what the disabilities we have. We have to like. Yeah, we're not going to be climbing like any mountains anytime soon. Or like, or we're not going to be runners anytime soon, because I don't think we'll be too fast if we're going to be runners. So we have to be like practical of like what we can actually do.
I'm very much, even if you can do something, doesn't always mean you should.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can run. I'm not going to. I could take heroin. I'm not going to. Just be real practical with what you're doing. So it's just know where your limitations are at, and you'll balance. Like you'll be grand then. Sort of. And again, it goes back to that whole element of it depends who you're working for and who you're working with.
And that again, like especially that passion and that like balance of going for it and trying to, that was one of the main things why I went to uni, because I was always told I would never get in.
Yeah.
In all fairness, that was like my school.
Yeah.
Like
my school said the same.
My school was just like they thought of moving me down a class.
Yeah.
But then as my head of year 8 actually said, well, he's getting the marks, keep him going, and I got like highest in like some of the scores, and that's how my parents was like, well, slap it up, That's the way my family loves.
My school is the same.
My family loves proving that
prove people wrong.
That's why I think that's where I get
motto. I like to prove people wrong. I
always try. Like I've been through some crazy things in my life so far, and I just always think like it's always good to have a new opportunity. And like during like my A levels times, things got really difficult for me, and at that time I was quite sick during my lower 6th year, and they did tell me, we think you should repeat this year. And my exam results they actually came out okay.
Yeah.
But I was in hospital for a lot of it, and I just couldn't keep up. And they were like, maybe don't apply to uni this year. Jesus. I remember having teachers, sort of saying, maybe you shouldn't, you're not ready for that type of thing, and you're not going to get the grades. And I was like, well, okay. So I applied to Queen's and got into Queen's.
Yay.
But I wasn't gonna go to Queen. No offense.
No, I'm taking. No, I'm taking.
There was just well, at least for me at that time, there was an attitude of if you went to Queen's, you're a bit of a maybe my parents clearly didn't work enough to send me there. No, but it was one of those things where I got in, but I probably don't even know, but I got in for drama. The dream for me when I was younger was I always wanted to be an actor. That was something I always wanted to do. And I got this little part back when I was like in the junior high.
I remember you telling me that at the Belfast Media Festival.
Yeah, and I was really passionate about it. I was really looking forward to it. And they had tried to put me in certain clothing for this shoot that they did at my school, and had a bit of which I would now know to be a meltdown, basically, because certain textures on my skin. My brain's like, no, we're not doing this. Or I used to have a really bad thing where if I seen black and navy together, I'd vomit.
Interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
That's a perfectly normal thing to do, isn't it?
Of course it is. Of course,
somebody came in, she was wearing a black hoodie and she wore a navy pair of Canterbury like rugby bottoms, and I vomited all over the place. And it's something so bizarre, and I had this phobia and this hyperfixation of certain colours shouldn't go together. Why nobody realised there was something wrong with me sooner, I don't know why. I don't know why I had to go and figure that out, but like that was one of the really like bizarre things. And when they did that on the shoot where they needed me to do that, and I ended up just, I realised there and then, they were like, look, if you want to be in this, you're going to have to do that. The allowance for that type of thing. But also I didn't have a name for it at the time. So I couldn't say to them, I'm autistic, that's why I can't do this. That wasn't there. I didn't find out till I was 20 or 21 maybe. So it was a long journey of finding out why I reacted in the ways that I did. So I had to pack it in. And I thought, well, maybe I'll go and I'll do drama. And then I went, this isn't gonna be right. And my dad really wanted me to be a PE teacher.
Really?
Interesting.
I grew up like competing all the time. So when I was little.
And your football.
And on the football, and
your golf.
And the golf, and the hockey. Mostly it was the hammer throwing in the shot putting that I did. Like,
I remember that in primary school.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. At times, it was good. Good crack. Although everybody did, all the lovely bullies back in my school, thanks, called me Miss Trunchbull. I mean,
I'm so sorry.
If I was a foot taller, I would get it. Like my sister was like 6'2" and she was 15.
Jesus Christ.
But
Miss Trunchbull?
Yeah, because she throws a hammer and then people would come over to me
amateur.
and they'd have like pigtails in their hair and they'd go, swing me, and you'd be like, right, okay.
You should have done it. Just out of balance.
Do you know, honestly, I wish I did now, because some of those people, well, whatever, they have worse life than me, so it's okay.
Next time they wear pigtails, we'll...
It's just...
Exactly.
It was that attitude, but you know what? Matilda the musical wasn't out yet, and I used to do every school musical that there was, so you can imagine the typecasting I would have got had that one came up while I was at school. But no, it was like that constant thing of you don't know what's wrong with you, you don't know what you can say, you don't know what you can do.
Exactly.
So I packed that all in, and it's only now that I'm like with a kind of spark and everything like that, where I'm going, hold on, there are crews out there now that will cater to the accessibility needs of people.
Yeah, I know that was going to be like my next question. Like, do you think there's enough? Like, do you think there's enough like accessible? You know what I mean? Like,
I think
for
they're
crews, they're going that way. Thank God.
Lovely to see, and the fact that I got a week alone, like I wanted more weeks. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to stay there longer, and because Chris was dropping up because he was going on show trial after a kind of spark, he was like, "What days do you have off uni?" And I said, "Well, that semester, because it was a busy semester and semester 2, and we were doing that live television program." I said, we get the Wednesday off, and then he goes, come in every Wednesday then after that until I wrap.
Yeah.
So it was nice that I still got those extra days in production, and I think there needs to be more diverse shows like A Kind of Spark being made and being heard of. Yeah. And it was just, overall, I couldn't have asked for a better production for my first time on a real set.
And it is those type of shows, you know, but at the same time, it's good to show that representation.
Exactly.
But it's at a children's age group.
Yeah.
Of course.
Let's start making content like that for adults.
Yeah.
A big, but I do that. The program was incredibly inspiring in the way that it was. I haven't watched series 2, but I'm looking forward to I'll be watching it this weekend. I wouldn't be a big proponent of children's television shows, but I definitely recommend that one. It did.
Oh no, don't worry, I might have dipped my views and binged it, but still.
No, and it was really good. But actually yesterday I spent the day at an animation and children's commissioning day.
Yes.
Wow.
So we had loads of people over from London and from Manchester, and I got to meet the commissioners of the County Spark, and I got to meet all the other people in the BBC that are currently commissioning for children's television and educational content.
Yeah.
And they really drove home the fact that they want to create more stories like this, but they want to create spaces for people, you know, like all of us sitting here, that can go in and can contribute positively to set.
And work with everyone. Like,
exactly.
I was really intimidated on my first day. Like,
of
even though
course,
I shouldn't, like, looking back, it's probably like ridiculous how intimidated I was. But I was asking so many questions to the point where I thought I was being annoying.
Yeah.
And then even Chris said that's what we look for in trainees. Yeah. Like it was just, I just kept going. I also, and everybody was there to help and to learn and to grow, especially in their own field of work. And they already are established people in the industry. And I learned so much on that set compared to uni.
And you do practical, like hands-on and stuff. Like my mum always told me, you know, if you don't ask, you don't learn. You know,
you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to get what you need out of things unless you're willing to go forth and ask those questions, you know. So it's important to be able to do that, but it's important to also be able to have the platform that allows you to go in and ask those questions. That's hopefully what we're moving towards now.
I do hope that's I mean, that means I get more money. We all get more money.
Yeah, exactly. But like the thing is, the fact that we're all sitting here talking about this already shows that we've been given an option to talk.
Exactly.
We've been given an option to actually discuss these things.
Of course.
There's a lot of people, like even out of that RTS event that we had last week, like the amount of people that have reached out, and I've had chats with them and stuff that are in the same position, you know, as us, you know, still have disabilities, and they're thinking, is this going to massively hold me back? And it shows that we have an opportunity to tell people, actually, hold on, if we're doing it, or if we're even, you know, getting through the door, you know, then there is stuff out there for other people. So,
and I believe each and every one of us has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And we're all different and unique in our own ways. And it's up to us, like this is from my documentary as well, it's up to us to inspire people who have the same kind of disability as us, and we can help and just spread more awareness, because people do not know of hidden disabilities.
Of course.
It's really, that needs to change. Like we need to have more awareness, and because there's loads of hidden disabilities that people don't know about, and there needs to be more stories written about them conditions.
Yeah, well, I agree.
I don't know if you know Chris Barr. He is a still photographer in the industry. He's lovely. I've been on loads of sets with him, and he always says your condition will help you in the industry. And that has been the best advice that I've ever received ever since I've been telling people about my documentary that I will be releasing soon.
Yes. No, I saw the rough cut. It was great.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Thank you.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it was an original idea, and it hasn't been done yet in the media. So I just think there needs to be more avenues for people with disability and just more acceptance, which I think we are getting to that stage.
Yeah.
I think there just needs to be more wider opportunities for people with disability, and make it more known, because not many people know about opportunities.
God.
When we all went to that BBC Extend, you can see there was a huge variety in the disabilities that people have.
Oh, there was. Oh no, I whenever we met there, and I was just like, okay, there's like a lot of people. Yeah. As like one person from like my CINE like boot camp, like he was in there, 15 people. I was like, oh, I remember him. You know.
And you sort of, with those things, like for me, I think because I don't look disabled,
Yeah.
it can be difficult. And I mean, well, depends. If you talk to any of my high school bullies, they might say different. But generally, like, you know, the whole idea of when I go in somewhere and I have that interview, I'm so mindful of how I come across.
Because,
And I think that's because a lot of people, you know, I do have a blunt nature about myself, which is kind of celebrated in my job now, but it wouldn't have been before. There are places that I've worked in the past and I know that my mouth has definitely gotten me into trouble. And I've never meant it, because genuinely I do think I have a good heart for people.
Of course, I know.
And I will always try and help people if I can. And if I can't, I'll try and find someone that can. You know, it's very much that way. And I think it's a lot to do with how I was raised, that we're all the same. Like, genuinely in my family, like, we're all an absolute mess. But every single person in my family, like, I know that they will go out of their way to try and help somebody. But again, it's like me going into that and trying to have that conversation with an employer when you're being interviewed or you're going on a scheme and you're constantly sitting there going, you need to rein it in. You can't show the amount of passion that you have. You can't actually come across as being too much. And that was like the big thing. And when you get asked questions, like when I had my interview questions for the BBC, that was a nightmare, because I didn't think about the fact that, you know, I should be watching BBC content, because
why would
I be? The only thing I could think of when they asked me what I watched was the football. And we discussed about that. They were like, we don't show a lot of football, and I said, well, you show the FA Cup every year, and you know, I've grown up watching that, and those were the types of conversations that I had to have, and having to pull myself back from going, yes, I love that, and I liked Bake Off, but when Bake Off went to Channel 4, it got crap, so now I don't really watch that. So it was one of those things. And that was sort of like, we really need to try and rein it in here. Do not say your opinion. Like, when they ask you something,
just smile away. Just smile.
Yeah, exactly. Or give the socially acceptable answer. Once you get in there, again, like for me now, my mouth is very open, so I can say what I want, and generally, like, my team are really good about it. Majority of them know. I think there's maybe only been 1 or 2 people that have taken offence, which, considering out of every 100 there would have been 99 before. I'm learning. I'm learning to restrain myself. But I do think it depends on your disability. I think everybody is aware of their disability in a different way. You know, people perceive disability in such a different way, and you can be really self-conscious. Like, I'm self-conscious because I feel like the minute I open my mouth, you can tell. And it just depends, you know, when I'm around other people, like when we were at that event and I was around a bunch of other neurodiverse people, and we were all speaking, like, I must say it was one of the funniest experiences I had, because I thought that I was really autistic. But when I was talking to some of them, I was like,
I might be good.
Like, you're making me seem normal here. And it was funny, because then they were saying the same thing back to me, and it's okay, like, we can say it. I'm autistic, so I'm allowed to say it.
Of course. It's like people.
You know, it's one of those things.
People have to say I'm allowed to say it.
I am allowed to say it. I can claim that word. It is on my documentation. So, it's
written evidence.
It's in evidence.
Oh no, I do like you holding your tongue, because I'm gonna ask you something mad.
Oh, here we go.
You know, like whenever you're doing the BBC stuff. You know, with like on the sheet of paper it says disability.
Yes.
It can't be a tick box, or would it be a tick box? Like, yep, we definitely have someone with a disability. Tick. Or can it? Or are they actually being like honest with that? Say we're having a disability. They're doing everything. You know that. I don't know how to word that, but like.
I think I get what you mean. Like, are people playing into it? Type of thing.
Like, is it like a tick box exercise? But
I mean, this has been something that kind of followed me from I went to the BBC, like, because obviously my post was ring fenced, so I was sort of sitting there going, am I here because I'm disabled? Is that what they see when they see me?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Where you can bring so much more to the table than
Which is a really positive way of looking at it, but I didn't look at it that way. I'm
You're being all positive. But that'll be depressing here.
No,
tissues.
It's nice of you to think that, Erin. Very nice of you. In the real world, am I do you know what? If it gets me a job, tick me. Go ahead.
Oh no! I was only asking. Some people. In some cases, it is. Sadly, it is like that.
Yeah.
Sadly, it is like. Yeah, we have a disabled person. Tick.
Well,
they did nothing, but
it's the same if you look across the board, though. Like, look at all the main broadcasters, and whenever you look at all of their application forms, they ask about race, they ask about your religion, they ask about sex, all the protected characteristics.
Yeah.
But the main ones now that you look at are socioeconomic factors. So they'll ask you, did you receive dinner tickets when you went to school?
Yeah.
Because that gives them a picture of where you grew up and how you grew up. So for me, I was a dinner ticket child, like everybody in our school, we had the blue tickets.
Oh,
and
the blue tickets, that's like special tickets.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, we had the blue tickets and everybody else had the pink tickets. And I go, hold on, are we like walking around here going, look, we're impoverished? But it wasn't that at all, but...
Back to the tick boxing.
Yes, back to the tick boxing. I think there's always going to be an element of that. I don't think that you can avoid that. I personally don't believe in quotas. And that today is a very controversial thing to say. Because I do believe that the best person should get the job.
Exactly. Oh no, I think I have the same boat.
No harm, but I'm not going to trust you to be a firefighter.
Oh, I wouldn't trust myself either. I wouldn't trust myself either.
If
I didn't like the person, I probably won't save them.
You're not going to get hired for that. The same way, I'm hardly going to get. Well, I wouldn't get hired for that either. Just can barely swim, but
my stamina I have.
Do you know what I mean?
I was saying there, I'm an idiot. I'm not going to be hired as a builder.
No, exactly. Maybe you'll do half the job anyway.
Thank you.
But not everything. So it's one of those things where it's good because we want to open these pathways to let more people in. But at the same time, at some point, you have to recognize the fact that you shouldn't just get in because you are ticking that box.
Oh, that's that's why I thought that tick box, but you know how to do your job.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even with with my boss, we always say if we have an issue that we just can't get to grips with it all, she normally sort of says, "Can I talk this out with you?" That's what she always says to me. She's like, because I find that when I start to speak, you're starting to problem solve almost. Yeah. So even if you're talking to somebody who's talking about cameras or I don't know, whatever fancy stuff you all do behind the scenes, stuff that I know nothing about, as they're starting to talk, you can start to work through things and go, even though you don't know how to do something, you'll start to think, what could I do to help that person? Or who do I know that might know that?
Exactly.
And that's the most important thing when you go to these events and you go and you talk to people, get their numbers, talk to them, chat to them. And you're not annoying people. But you're not annoying them as much as you think you are.
You think you're annoying? Because I did.
Especially in Northern Ireland because people want to help. I think it's different over the water. We always talk about, in the BBC, we talk about this London mentality, because that's where the base is. But actually, there's so many bases now all across the UK. But I think in Northern Ireland, we're so small, we're so treasured, and we always try our best to help each other out 90% of the time. So just talk to people and they will guide you to somebody else, is what I find anyway.
Exactly. I'm kind of in the same position because every shoot that I've kind of been on, I've been working with the same camera operator every shoot, and even though he's great and we get along, it's you do find that in the industry, once you're on one shoot, then you would work with the same crew from the next shoot and the previous.
And then you might be able to get a good relationship with those people as well.
Yeah, because my department is sound, so camera and sound would work really, really closely together. Yeah. And you would have to form that relationship. And recently as well, last weekend we had our first screening for Dear Imelda at the Avenue Cinema, and that was one of my first big industry experience of a screening, and I've never been to the Avenue Cinema, so the fact that I got to go there for free for my first time, you know what I mean? It was just like a whoa experience.
And even better because it was free.
Free,
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's us for today.
Okay.
Thank you so much for you both coming at the same time, because I was thinking whenever we chatted, I thought that it might be two separate interviews, you know, that's two separate episodes. But thank you so much for coming back, like coming together.
Yeah, that's no problem.
And hope to get in contact again.
Yeah,
you know, hopefully this podcast wasn't just one off.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, you can remember us when you're famous. So.
Of course.